3, 2, 1.
Red Bud! Let's go. Yeah. We got 4th of July. It is Red Bud season.
That's it. It's Red Bud weekend, man.
It is hot. We are ready.
Damn it.
We got some guys ready to rip it.
I'm your host of the PV podcast, Troy Tittlemeyer, and this is Chase Fender. Man, I met you in 2005, right?
5th grade for me.
You were a 5th grader, dude.
It was good.
It's unbelievable. I was maybe 20, something like that. I mean, I was a kid too, but it's different. You were a kid. And you and Rusty running around like, wow, man, what an amazing little adventure I got to have and experience, and then being able to stay connected with your dad and you, and now seeing what you've done and kind of your perspective and the way you think about things.
The people you meet along the way, right? I mean, it's
so
crazy.
Happy, dude. I'm so happy and thankful to have you in my life and to have met you and your family, dude.
That's, I really appreciate hearing that, and I feel the exact same way. As soon as you start meeting a lot of my friends and family, you'll hear all the ranting and raving I've done about T-Roy. So one of my favorite people, without a question.
Right on, man. Well, dude, this show was really, really cool. Before we get into kind of some of the nuts and bolts of the show, I want to talk to you about this event we have coming up, man.
Great.
Get your feedback on it. We're calling it the Summer Rocks event.
Okay.
Summer Rocks event. We're going to start with a 9-hole golf tournament.
Great.
3-on-3. So no pencil whipping. There's going to be 3 golf carts. Mm-hmm. You got A versus B, and then you have a C golf cart, which has 1 player of A and 1 player of B.
Wow.
Yes.
I haven't heard of that before.
It's to eliminate the whole cheating shit.
Yeah.
Because you go to a scramble, right? It's a scramble, but it's 3-on-3. It's a scramble, and you go to a scramble, it's like, wow, 17 under. Look at these guys,
Yeah. Interesting how it happened.
ain't happening this time. We got golf. We got 2 teams playing each other on each hole. It's still a scramble, but on the 8th hole of the Olympia Hills golf course is like a new discovery, man. It's a geologic discovery.
Really?
Yes, the Eagleford is outcropping at this golf course, which Eagleford is that world-renowned, or at least Texas-renowned,
right? Absolutely,
reservoir all across South Texas and Central Texas. And it was just Austin Chalk for all these years. It was all called Austin Chalk. Wow. Geologist after geologist, Austin Chalk. Well, the current president-elect of the South Texas Geologic Society, who's going to be at our event, discovered during undergrad, this isn't Austin Chalk. This is something else. I think it's Eagleford. And so we're looking at this rock, and that's it. This is the Eagleford.
Really?
Yeah, this green serpentinite.
It does have green all over it. That's something I was noticing while we were looking over this.
It's a wild rock, dude, and it's leaking into the creek and stuff, and it's got an oil sheen to it. It's like it's hydrocarbon. It's a hydrocarbon factory that we're looking at. Eagleford, we know, is a hydrocarbon factory. It's a world-class reservoir with millions of barrels, right? It's still producing all its gas.
Absolutely.
Eagleford is a massive hydrocarbon producer.
Eagleford Permian Basin, what is the comparison of size or any of those things? Random outsider question here. Yeah. But that's all you hear about. Eagleford Permian Basin, how do they match up?
Wow.
I mean, I don't know that it's even a competition, but
it definitely is, because Eagleford is kind of referring to the whole area.
Okay.
And it's also its own formation, its own reservoir. Mm-hmm. But dude, this region that the Eagleford really is in has oil it's comparable, dude. It's definitely United States class. I would say it's world class. The shallow oil fields have made millions of barrels. The deeper oil fields, like the Eagleford itself, millions of barrels. And so the Permian is very similar in that. You got very, very deep reservoirs. You go to 10, 15,000 feet. You got reservoirs down there. And then you got reservoirs all the way up to 1,000.
Goodness.
Right? So it's very similar. The Permian is just larger.
Okay.
It's a bigger area than the Eagleford. Permian is a massive size, and the Eagleford is smaller, right? It's a little thinner.
Okay.
So I mean, but a lot of oil and gas has come out of this area.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
built
all you
San
hear
Antonio,
about.
And honestly, I would say it's helped build Texas. No question about it. The Permian Basin certainly has.
Yes.
But this industry right here in San Antonio, for being over 100 years old since its first discovery, and how much oil and gas has come out of this region to the refineries to sell to the rest of the world, has without a doubt had a major contribution to the state of Texas and to the United States.
Man, tremendous. What a great state to live in, by the way.
So we're going to go check this rock out. We're going to learn a shit ton about it, and we're going to figure out, is that actually serpentinite or something? Is that rock a product of serpentinization, or is that a rock a product of some other geologic process? We're going to make that discovery at this event.
Really?
Yes. So you should be there.
Dude, absolutely. Without a doubt.
That's the Summer Rocks event. Okay, so let me go through the schedule.
So you're telling me I get to play golf and make potentially one of the biggest discoveries of oil and gas, one of the, energy, the biggest industry, whatever there is.
That's it. If we prove that rock is related to serpentinization at this event, it's going to be the biggest discovery at any mini convention, single convention, global convention. I don't care what other convention you got. That's a major discovery for the Eagleford.
Folks, you love golf, you love discoveries. Do we have the event for you?
Dude, I got more. There's more. Just wait.
Please.
So we get in, we register, we golf, we do the outcrop. You get a geologic guidebook that tells you about the cracks of the world.
Really?
Yes, you get material to take home to show people what you learned. And then we go in and we have lunch inside the event center at the golf course. And we're going to bring in Alan Lazenby Jr., who's this guy he's an engineer who started an oil and gas company and got the opportunity he's going to tell his story. I just know bits and pieces at this point.
Love a good bio.
Dude, this guy went to Colombia, helps make this discovery some way, some shape or size. It's an oil and gas discovery. He has to build his own airport. He's like building his own infrastructure, this whole thing.
Goodness.
All of a sudden, Pablo Escobar shows up. Yeah. Wants the airport, supposedly.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And probably wants his cut. So his engineers go held hostage. Like, the story is something else, dude. He's going to come live, tell his story. That's going to be the podcast in the middle of the day.
Tremendous.
Me and him
wow.
just going for tit for tat. Podcast, that's the lunch, and then we roll right into the mini convention. The mini convention is going to be like local service companies, the societies, the students from the universities. We want to really integrate and like get this really nice networking opportunity to talk to people, right? Like-minded people talking about opportunities. We're also bringing in Rate. Rate is an investment team. It's real asset investment team, Rate. And we had him on the show. We're putting out some content with him. They basically figured out that, like, all right, if you have a personal investment strategy, which involves your own personal investment philosophy, right, your own personal investment opportunities that you have, if you have that kind of established, so if you're disciplined enough to be a professional and be a person in life right now that has investment dollars,
right,
then he's bringing a tax strategy that you might be unfamiliar with.
Really?
Yes, and you might be able to use a lot of money that is typically taxed in your situation.
Wow.
And invest it in energy. You can invest as a working interest partner in operations where you're making oil and gas every day as a person, as an individual or as a company. You're putting the money into that you would already be handing over to pay taxes.
Right.
You don't have to do that anymore. You can use that and make an investment.
What a benefit.
And get a real asset under your hands. You own an oil and gas. You're making more energy than you actually burn as a person.
And more dollars to go around for those individuals, seeking that investment, man.
Right.
What a benefit that is. That's tremendous.
The industry needs it more than ever, too.
Without a doubt.
The workover companies, the service companies, the oil and gas operators, we need investment dollars like no other right now to keep up with this demand that's happening.
Wow.
It's such a struggle to hire the right people, use the right equipment, do it the right way in the environment we're in. We need the strategy, this tax strategy, and in his opinion, oil and gas is offering a tax strategy and a tax benefit to investors like no other industry. Not the real estate, not stock market. He's like oil and gas, working interest partners, like this is the real deal.
And is eliminating, I imagine, the barrier to entry. I wouldn't know how to get involved, and now you have a liaison that can show you exactly how and where.
That's
what
him.
A dream.
So he's gonna explain that stuff to us. He's gonna do a quick little speech. He's gonna be there live to teach us more about it, to be a contact. You have 20,000, 50,000, $1 million, doesn't matter what you have to invest. He can help you be that
That's
strategy.
an asset, man. That's tremendous.
So we're going to have those. The energy convention is going to happen, and then we're bringing in Josh Tatum, dude. He's the rising star from Midland, Texas.
There we go.
Josh Tatum is going to come in and rip up a live performance,
Gotta love
happy
it.
hour,
Shout
open
out to
bar.
Josh.
That's it. Have you heard of him?
Yes, absolutely.
What?
Dude, natives got to stick with natives, man.
Yes. Dude, so he's coming in, shredding it up. We're going to do a networking happy hour open bar that kind of ends the night at like 5, 6 o'clock.
Right.
And specifically, we want to end it there because we want all these people who just met to have the opportunity to say, hey, what are you going to get for dinner tonight?
Wow.
And let it go. Let it go from that event and go keep going with what you just created. These opportunities all came together right here, right then. Now, it's not go home and maybe we'll get together another time. It's, hey, I'm hungry. Like, we're purposely making you hungry and excited at the end of this event to keep going with your business and opportunities.
Between that and the golf, it sounds like you've really put all y'all's thought into, how to make this as much ROI as possible.
That's what it's about, man.
I love it.
We don't want to waste any time. So we're going to South Texas Geologic Society is in support of it. The Society of Petroleum Evaluation Engineers.
Great.
So like the banks and the investors, right? The evaluators of the financing. Society of Petroleum Engineers themselves. We got our platinum sponsors, Mandrill Energy and USGP.
Shout out.
They're going to be coming in, telling us all about what they do and what they provide. Again, golf tournament in the morning. Go to pbepodcast.com to get your tickets registered today.
Absolutely.
Buy your sponsor packages so we can give you credit, right? To give you a platform to tell everybody in the room what you do.
I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Oh, man. Cool. Well, that was great. That worked out. So let's talk about the show, man. Let's talk about what dropped out in this show. We talked about kids, the idea of having kids. We talked about starting our own businesses, failures, accomplishments. This show, for me personally, was awesome because I've known you for so long,
right?
And then getting to really get the opportunity to sit down and learn more about like who you've really turned into, it was a real treat for me. But doing this show was kind of eye-opening for me in the sense that we have businesses and technologies that are out there working right now in America at American dollars, at American pay, that are working. It's not this idea that you can go and get an accountant to help you for 63 cents an hour in some other country and all these other things, like all this cheaper labor and all that stuff. No, America is actually working just fine.
And sustaining America.
Yeah. That was a big dropout for me.
Man, I absolutely love it. I want to do whatever we can to keep supporting that, but that's, all wisdom that I soaked up from this podcast aside. Yeah, it's tremendous to hear that sort of stuff, and man, what an experience it's been.
Right on. What's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? Do you have a response to that if someone asks you what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
Knowledge and wisdom. Interesting. Knowledge and wisdom. I guess the first thing that came to mind is something along the lines of ought to do versus capable of doing. It's kind of hazy, kind of foggy. Maybe we can hash that out. But, with knowledge, there comes a lot of capability of what you can do. With wisdom, I think there's a lot of things of what you ought to do. That's kind of a hazy, foggy example, but that's the first thing that came to my mind.
It's awesome, man. It's freaking awesome. See, I wouldn't have been able to answer that question, but now that I have kind of a one-liner,
jumping off point,
right, for this, what you're saying is accurate. It was knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing that you're not going to put it in a fruit bowl.
Right.
Right.
And that you can make ketchup out of it.
There you go. Interesting twist to knowledge and wisdom, but we ended up saying, I think, the same thing. What you can do and what you ought to do with that information.
It's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah. Always, man. Always keeping mental checks, right? Checking the soundboard around you, the people you have that you talk to every day. making sure that soundboard is as sharp and is the best people you can keep around you, and to share those ideas. And
It's crucial.
Yeah, soundboards are.
Who are your meters? Who are you bouncing off of? Who are you gauging who you are? You can't just be all solo, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to keep those people around you that are those good buoys or those good walls that you bounce off of, and you know, oh, I'm messing up, oh, I'm doing well, and keeping those good meters around you, right?
Man, that's it. All right, last thing before we go. What you have one geologic question. What is it? Any or one that rises above them all? What geologic question do you have?
Why is there so much heat in the center of the earth, and how is it? Is it you know, I mean, not eternal, but how is there so much heat at the center of the earth? How does it continue to be so hot? How is it not, if it's not being fueled by something, how does it not cool down? I guess that's kind of an outsider question. Maybe that's easy,
Wow.
but
It's a galactic question. I like it, dude. Our galaxy is freaking real. The amount of energy that's in it, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly what's going on there. But you can imagine that there's this rock that's floating around the sun, and it's not. You know, we think it's floating, but it's actually being violently ripped through the galaxy and hooked to the sun's gravitational pull. So this star is being ripped violently through space, and I think that in itself is a friction. That in itself is an energy. But how our planet is able to harness that energy and create the biosphere and our atmosphere that allows us to live, that is incredibly challenging to really think about. I know the perovskite, which is most of the mesosphere, which is the middle part of our planet. So you got the core, the outer core, and then you got this mesosphere, and then you have the active layers of our planet. The mesosphere is the biggest. It's like 60% of the planet, and it's dead. There's nothing really going on there, but it's made out of this material, perovskite, and it's really a supercapacitor and a superconductor at the same time. It's amazing material that the straight jacket of our star, because the inner core is our star. That's where all the energy is really coming from.
Okay.
And that thing's being ripped around the sun, and you know, that's that big friction point that gravity near us is all held on. So that's that.
So gravity latches onto density, right? So is it the most dense as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's iron, nickel. It's most dense. And then around it is perovskite, this big, thick body of perovskite, which is this supercapacitor, so it can hold that energy really well. But every now and then, it can let it go, and it can release it. So our planet, if you look at the active layers versus the dead layer of perovskite versus the core, we've used up approximately 62%, which is a Fibonacci number or Fibonacci sequence, of our star. And we have about 38% left.
Interesting.
Of energy and active mantle to continue the gases and this balance, this unbelievable orchestra of gases and liquids that are constantly recycling and making more of, and we're always losing hydrogen. So our planet constantly loses hydrogen and helium. Those are the only two things we constantly lose.
Really?
Yeah, we're constantly burning that off as we're floating through right now. The next second, we just lost more helium and hydrogen. And that's...
Goodness.
But our planet is constantly pushing that out, right? We have so much more. We have 38% more of that to sustain what's going on. But, man, great question. Galactic question got me going there. That was good.
Gotta love it.
That was good.
No, I love the answer. That was like super informative. I really appreciate it.
3, 2, 1, let's go. On July 29th, we're going to do the Summer Rocks one-day convention. We're going to start it with a golf tournament. Golf tournament goes past hole 8 at Olympia Hills Golf Course. Olympia Hills Golf Course is in Universal City. So it's like Shirts area, San Antonio, outskirts San Antonio. It's essentially where the big hills start happening as you get out of San Antonio. What are those big hills all about? What's going on there? What's all that structure that's driving these hills? Well, Olympia Hills Golf Course has a very interesting outcrop right there on hole 8. So we're going to do this golf tournament. All the golfers are going to roll through. We're going to stop, do the field trip guide on hole 8, where we're looking at the Austin Chalk in Eagleford as it's leaking oil into the creek, right? We're going to get some samples from that. We're going to get some data to look at, and we're going to start looking, we're looking at this from a hydrothermal perspective, that all these big fractures that are in this area that are driving the structure, these hills and all that stuff, that's tied to a system that connects to the deep, and the deep is hot waters, hot metal, like it's metalliferous waters, right? It's full of kerogen. It makes oil. That's the hydrothermal perspective. So we're going to start breaking down the geology and try to figure that out over there at Olympia Hills. Then we're going to roll inside. Breakfast is included on the golf, but lunch is included. That'll go into the podcast with Alan Lazenby Jr., who's going to talk about crossing paths with Pablo Escobar and share his story and his learnings from his long and successful career. Then we're going to go into the mini convention, where we're going to bring up these technologies and these service companies. We're going to bring up Real Asset Investment Team owner, where he's talking about understanding your place as a personal investor. Right? Your personal investment strategy, your personal investment philosophy, personal investment opportunities. You might work a W-2 and have extra income that you want to spend on investing, but what they bring together is this tax strategy, where it's not only are you disciplined enough to store the money and have that opportunity to invest, but you might be actually able to drastically decrease the percentages of your income that are going to pay taxes and use that money to make the investment.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways, and it's just like anything you get into, there's multiple ways to come to an event like this and really come out a winner, right? You're not just going to show up, you're going there to achieve something for yourself, whether it's education or networking or a specific outcome that you've decided. There's a couple ways there. One, if you're just getting into the space, you can come and network with people that are already doing this. Right? They're already in the space. If they're coming to the event, they're looking to network as well. So they want to talk to you. Maybe they want you to come in as an investor. Maybe they're wanting, more knowledge for their team, right? So that's one way, is just networking and finding opportunities. If you already have a personal investment strategy and you know what you're looking for, now you come to this event and you're finding opportunities to actually invest. So it's more than just networking and knowing somebody, but you're maybe going to find 5, 6, 10 operators. You can meet them, have real conversations to understand, do I want to invest in what they're doing? Because I already know my personal financial strategy needs oil and gas investments. And this is a place I can go and find deals and places to get into this market, right?
So it's really cool, very eye-opening, very interesting development there. And they'll be here, and then we're going to just talk to the societies. We're going to talk to students. We're going to talk to service companies. It's a mini convention, and that goes to the happy hour, where we get to open the bar up, bring in dinner, and we have Josh Tatum, who's going to be shredding up the guitar live for us there at the Olympia Hills Golf Course. So one-day convention. What we're ultimately trying to do is recruit professionals to get involved with the societies. We want to build a strong network of professionals that really understand the energy landscape of San Antonio, where it's going to go for the next 10, 20 years, and who's going to manage these things. Who's going to manage that next 10 to 20 years? How are we going to actually get more efficient and get better and do it safer? How's that actually going to happen? This is the network we're bringing together, and this is why we're so passionate and why we're so thrilled about this event on July 29th, Olympia Hills Golf Course, July 29th. Let's go. Let's get it. So what we're drinking is Sazerac Rye, straight white rye whiskey. Would you say Sazerac, or how would you say that?
Sazerac?
Sazerac.
Wonder what type of word that is. Like country-wise.
It's good, man. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude. Anytime, Chase. Anytime. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to see what you're doing after all these years.
It's wild to see. It's doing everything that we did, and now being where we are, dressed how we are. We're just wearing skateboard shoes and stuff.
That's it, man. Yeah. So let's rock it all the way back, dude. I obviously, I think I know, but let's just go with where are you from exactly? Where were you born? How was you growing up?
Well, born in Midland, Texas, lived there for 19 years. Family outfit fleet, primarily oil field vehicles. I was just, talking to my dad about that the other day, how it's interesting. We haven't had anybody in our family really working in the oil field until this generation. One of my cousins worked for Pioneer and now does some oil field construction stuff. But yeah, interesting growing up there and not being involved in oil and gas at all, not knowing anything about it really, not having family members involved. So,
but your dad, how long did your dad run that company, or how long did he run it? When did all that start? It's called Fender.
Fender Truck Accessories started as Fender Tire in the 80s, and it's been there ever since. And they transitioned over from tires to vehicle accessories. They were buying parts, not even from the middleman of the middleman in Odessa, and got into buying one or two accessories and outfitting them. And now,
wow.
For what they do, they don't have a ton of competition. It's been interesting seeing Carrie move from Midland to Fort Worth, where we're at now, and all the businesses they had set up in Midland, and one brother runs the store, one brother's an accountant, one brother does this, one brother does that, and now he's in Fort Worth. We're running the business that we're running. And I guess just the lack of safety nets, and I don't have a spare vehicle, a shop truck to use when mine goes down, or I don't have an oil change guy that comes and does it all, or I don't have, and you also don't have the profit margins that you do in West Texas and that they had. I mean, it was a money printer. So it's interesting him leaving that, moving to Fort Worth. I've been there for a few years, and now he's seeing kind of how the rest of the world has existed outside of the bubble that is West Texas. So
the bubble of West Texas, man.
It's an interesting place.
Wow.
So yeah, born there, went to the same school, went to Midland Christian all the way through preschool through senior year.
Nice. Played football?
And, played some football, ran some track. Rode motocross, as you know. That's how Troy and I met each other, through motocross. Right. So still my favorite sport, still the only sport that I follow, listen to the podcasts, read the magazines.
Nice. Who's your all-time favorite motocrosser besides me?
Man, besides Troy, I've seen the tat on your leg. You getting the whole shot, leading the race. So he may be the greatest of all time. Ricky Carmichael, revolutionized the sport. Anybody that I think you ask nowadays that's involved in the sport, or previous pros that were pros when he was there, even get a before and after. The sport was kind of just dudes showing up and racing. In the meantime, they were riding in the hills.
Yeah.
I mean, you're well aware, being from California, riding in the hills, doing all of that, and it was kind of a hobby. And then you'd race on the weekends. And Ricky changed the sport to training facilities, training regiments, 5 gallons of gas every day, like he did. Down to calorie counting and true regiment that other sports operate at.
Right.
He was the first one to do it for motocross. And so he's, as considered the GOAT for that.
Yeah.
Not the fastest. I think Bubba was the fastest to ever do it.
Yeah. But damn, Ricky was good, dude. I remember being a kid.
Just changing it. Yeah.
In the 90s, he came through LACR, and everyone was talking about Ricky Carmichael. And man, he's on an 80. And it was just like, golly.
Ripping it. Random short, redheaded kid from Florida.
Didn't know an 80 can go that fast, man. It's amazing.
Changed the sport. Yeah, it's so him for sure. K-Dub, Kevin Windham. I was a big Kevin Windham fan.
Throttle Control.
I liked just his whole demeanor and the way that he rode. Always liked guys that wore Arai helmets as well for some reason. I always thought that their style was, I don't know, just the way that guys that wore Arai helmets conducted themselves in the road, I always thought was interesting. So
you must be the only person ever seen that and picked that up.
I don't know.
Arai
It's so
helmets.
weird. It's, I never even owned one. I always thought they were the best helmets. But yeah, I liked dudes that wore Arai, still do. Justin Barsha wore Arai for a long time.
Bam.
Davey Millsaps was, I liked Davey because we were both tall and skinnier guys.
Yeah.
Same with, Travis Preston.
Right.
Some
TP,
of those
man.
sorts
I almost
of guys.
got to work for that guy.
Really?
Yeah. He was, that dude was hilarious, man. He was one of the
One of the
coolest guys.
Supercrosses, I went up to his semi, and this was after qualifying practice or something. And I asked him for an autograph, and he said yes. And he was like, well, what do you want me to sign? I didn't have anything. And this dude signed my stinking shoe. I took my shoe off, had a big white part right on the middle. I said, well, will you sign this? And it's probably stunk and all of that. And then now I listen to him on podcasts. I'm like, dude, what the coolest dude ever. I mean, a random guy comes up, asks you for an autograph. You sign his shoe.
Yeah,
the sport's amazing.
Yeah.
The people that like it really like each other.
Yep.
The power distance between fans and riders is lower. They're easier accessible, easier to talk to than like LeBron James or something. So it's a really tight knit sport. I mean, you have tremendous connections where knowing this person, knowing that person, seeing them, talk to them, been in there. It's a really tight knit sport that you can meet somebody and really meet a lot of people from knowing someone.
Yeah, no,
it's really cool.
It's pretty easy to walk through the pits and easy to talk to them when you get a hold of them, especially when you get in their network. Then it's like, oh man, Villapoto is just one of the most normal dudes.
Right.
Super easy to
Everybody
get along
thought
with.
he
Super
was
cool.
Yeah, he was so rough to be around for so long, but just wanted to win so bad that he seemed like not a fun guy.
Yeah. No,
What about you? Who are some of your favorite riders?
Man. Well, leaving it off there, starting with Villapoto, that was cool. I got to see him come through his first outdoor national, and I remember calling my dad and like, this Villapoto, like, you can buy stock in a dirt bike rider. I would bet the farm that Villapoto is going to be a multi-champion.
And always being dominated by Alessi as an amateur. It's interesting how that switches when you turn pro. I mean, Alessi was obviously successful, but
I don't even remember that part of the amateur circuit. I wasn't in it, right? I was in California, kind of getting ready to go and like be a mechanic, and like the racing was done for me because I wasn't fast enough, and I just got hurt all the time. So it wasn't like I was in that scene. So I didn't really know that history with them, but I got to watch him, and he was amazing. I was like, man, he's changing the game. This is another way to attack on the track. It was just the way that I felt like he can control the back of the bike.
He steered with the back wheel. Yeah, that's what they've always said.
It's amazing to watch, man, and just very, very unique. But also growing up racing James Stewart, as random as possible, like only a handful of times, just happened to be the same age, not the same class, you know what I mean? And so that was amazing. So he definitely stands out. And I like how you put it with RC, dude. Like he revolutionized the sport in the sense that it was at such a high level. It is like the third or whatever, top 5 for sure, most physically demanding sports.
Without a doubt. And it's a hard point to make to people that aren't in the sport, because you think you just sit on the motorcycle and ride around.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it, but you could also easily simplify like baseball or basketball or something.
Yeah.
Just put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a simple game.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but it's not that easy. It's like, oh, what? I don't get it. It's like, well, same with riding controlling a 200-pound motorcycle for 35 minutes in, Gainesville, Florida in the summer, kicks your butt.
Yeah. The track's always changing.
Oh, yeah. Rough as hell.
Yeah.
It's
amazing.
Super interesting. It's just so unique. It's hard to explain to people how physical it is and all of those things. So you end up just kind of not even defending it. You just sit down, ride around, whatever.
I got to take friends out, dude. Our local track, LACR, would do team races. So you could take a friend, and it was the end of the day.
Oh, wow.
End of the day. It was after the Grand Prix. So they do the Grand Prix almost every month kind of thing, every holiday basically. And so every class raced, instead of doing 2 races that were like 5 laps long or 10 laps long, you did 1 race for 45 minutes or 1 race for 30 minutes, right? And that was the Grand Prix. Well, at the end of the Grand Prix, you get to do a team race. And you could have women and guys do it. You can, it's a team race. You
One
take,
bike, multiple people.
Yep, 1 bike, 2 people, and you race and kick it in the ass. And the pros would stay. Like, we'd see some of the best races at the Grand Prix, team races.
What a dream. That's
2
hilarious.
dudes racing 1 bike. And I would take my friends that just didn't do it. And they were always just amazed, man. My dad would always get a kick out of it. Like, I don't think I could survive this. I don't want to go back out there.
Right. Yeah, it's really unique, man. What an amazing sport. I love it.
Yeah.
It's hard to afford. I guess that's the one bad thing about it, and only getting more expensive, especially through the pandemic. I mean, it's good to see manufacturers' sales go up, and the sport really got a lot larger through COVID.
I haven't heard that. That's good to hear.
It is hard to justify the cost at some points.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely give you that.
Yeah.
And then, you start taking it serious. You want to get a trailer. You want to get a motorhome. Traveling every weekend. Now you want to leave half day on Fridays. Can your parents afford to do that?
Right.
And
Right.
you're missing school. And yes, it's definitely difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I've heard several talk about that. The homeschooling thing versus regular school and how do you stay competitive. It's amazing how much more serious and competitive it really has gotten across the board.
Amateurs getting deals. I mean, getting real support now, where it wasn't always like that. And you admire the guys that finish school. Contemporaries. Justin Cooper finished school, finished high school. Levi Kitchen finished high school. At the high school.
At an actual school.
There's a few
Deegan
125 guys.
What was Deegan's deal? He at High Point, right?
They did a graduation ceremony for his homeschool deal on the podium, so that was cool to see.
Yeah.
I mean, good to finish it, obviously.
Right.
What do you think? There's a little extra admiration for those guys that went to high school and still, are performing at the top right now.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show that you don't have. It's not the only way to do it.
No.
Right? Like you definitely can do this sport and not be on the road constantly and all that stuff. So that's
Absolutely.
good. It's good for the sport. What do you think of Danger Boy?
I love Danger Boy. It's so interesting seeing the dynamic of their family and videoing everything.
Yeah.
And everything just constantly being content and published. He claims that, it's always been like that and he's used to it. So my opinion of it doesn't really matter that way. It would be interesting living and being a part of it, but there is no doubt that the dude has serious talent.
Yeah.
Real serious talent that your dad can't buy.
That's right.
Your dad being Brian Deegan doesn't get you second place your rookie Supercross season, and now I think he's in second or third in the outdoors.
That's right.
You can't buy that, and even with good bikes, I mean, we've seen people not perform on factory teams. So, very real.
Yep.
Very real threat.
Certainly earned every bit of it on the track to have the ride that he does, right?
Without a doubt.
And to have the factory ride, a factory bike, do that whole thing, and it was good to see that. That kind of pressure, which is certainly some serious pressure, as you can imagine, especially with the social media aspect of it, bringing 1 million followers and everything that comes with that, and saying, okay, it is now time to perform. If you don't,
And he underperformed in the what is the junior Supercross called? Futures. So before his first Supercross, he had raced Futures. And didn't do well. I think maybe got top 5, maybe didn't even get top 5. He comes out and performs like he did in his rookie Supercross season. It's tremendous. Second place. I mean, they were hoping for top 10s, and you come and get second. That's outrageous.
Yep. No, the dude's corner speed's legit.
Very good corner speed.
Yeah.
Ability to lay the bike over. Holy cow.
Yeah, trust the knobs, dude. Trust the knobs.
Outrageous.
Yeah. Man, I love that. Sitting here and talk about supercross, motocross with you, dude.
It's a dream.
I'm glad you're still.
Well, we're the few and the proud, right? We've
right.
got to get it in while we're together.
Man. Well, tomorrow, I don't know when you're going to leave, but the outdoors are back.
Red Bud, baby.
Red Bud.
Shout out to Ty Masterpool.
Oh, man.
Was it 2 or 3 years ago with his #1 across the whole shot line? That was one of the coolest things ever.
Now, so what's your take on this weekend? Last thing, and then we'll get into a little more of your story and kind of where we want to take this podcast. What do you think's going to happen this weekend? Who's winning what?
Anderson's back in the 450 class.
Right.
I don't know. I think he's going to be a breath of fresh air to the class. It's kind of shallow right now, is what a lot of people are saying.
He's going to beat Lawrence.
I sure hope so.
He's going to beat him.
Ando's my dog.
He's going to beat him. Have you ever seen the race where he beat the European dude?
At Donations.
Yes.
Hurlings.
Took him out.
Dude, don't sleep on Ando, man.
Dude.
The guy's a monster.
Is at times the fastest dude to ride a dirt bike.
Yes.
He is
Jersey untucked.
Unbelievable.
Hanging it out, but in control.
Yeah.
And just doing it.
Yep. But it's just been this funk. It's been a funk. And, the guy's had a kid. The guy's in the middle of...
Gets married, has a kid.
Marriage, kids.
You reroute your priorities, I imagine. You look
right.
at the bank account and say, does all the risk match up to the reward?
That's right.
For him, I imagine it does. But
so he's in a position, I think, where he comes back and makes a true statement, where he comes back and comes back hard.
I sure hope so.
Yep. Red Bud's totally revamped. Have you seen the layout?
I haven't yet. I saw that it's redone. I haven't seen the layout.
Yep. They switched it up pretty good. So that just kind of opens it up. Red Bud's a real tricky track because of those off cambers. Have you been to Red Bud? Have you?
Never have.
Yeah, it's cool, man. The crowd is electric, right?
I've only heard.
4th of July weekend, like
getting wild. Starting today. Starting right now.
Yes, right. It's just like we are. That's right.
Yeah, without a doubt. No, I mean, so Ando top 3. I'm really hoping. Jet. I mean, you have to list him in the top. You have to say you think he's going to win.
Yeah.
Now there's a third spot.
Is Roxon racing?
I think Roxon's racing. What a great debut he had last week. Love to see it. Love to see somebody shake up the class.
Yeah.
See what's going on with Ferrandis. I don't quite take his excuses. I mean, who am I? But he didn't race Supercross and should have been testing, I believed, this whole time. I thought that's what he was doing.
Right. I thought he was going to be a real contender.
It's been served to him every way.
Sheesh.
So I wanted the best for him. He can dominate.
Right. Past champion, dude.
Sexton, I don't know what his deal is. I think he's back.
Oh, that'd be cool to see.
You hear all these rumors of he took off extra time because he's unhappy with Honda and Hunter's going to be moving up. So it's going to be the Lawrence show. And he didn't want to... Stayed out enough rounds to where it couldn't be a competition. He couldn't get first because he's missed so many rounds and Jet's been winning. So that's the rumor. Who knows?
Right. What the truth is, right?
Yeah. And where is he going? I mean, they say Yamaha, they say KTM. So who knows? But leaving Honda.
Yeah.
He's probably my favorite, other than Jason. I think Sexton's maybe my favorite 450 rider right now, just because I want to see him win so bad.
Yeah.
Same with when Hunter Lawrence came over and just kept getting hurt. I don't dislike Hunter now, but I was a bigger Hunter Lawrence fan when I knew he could win and wasn't. Now he's winning everything, and it's like, okay, I want somebody else to win now. But same way. So I would love to see Sexton get an outdoor championship. That'd be fantastic.
What an interesting deal that you brought up there, that there's a strategy there to sit out extra time. That's interesting. The only thing I heard about Sexton was his a bit of a head injury. He was a little worried about his concussions. And, I always had this hypothesis during the Supercross season that Tomac actually got rocked a lot harder than anybody suspected when he almost landed on or came in together with Webb off that rhythm and jumps off the track. He hits his head, smacks his head pretty good in that crash. It was a real flash one, real fast, but it was definitely enough to, I think, rattle the dome. And then bang, the rest of the year was just kind of odd. For sure, the rest, like the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks was very odd. And then he was like, okay, he's doing fine. And then bang, he gets a
torn Achilles, man.
Right,
How
torn
brutal.
Achilles. Interesting, very interesting. That would be
I hadn't seen it happen. I mean, you've been involved with the sport longer than I, but I have not seen a mid-rhythm section torn Achilles just from sheer force.
Yeah. No.
And knew right away. I mean, you saw it when it happened that he held it off and was like, nope.
You think he's coming back?
I don't. I think he's good. I think he's taking care. I think he's wise, and that's why I think he's not coming back. I think he's surrounded by wise people, and it's like, man, I've done it. I've made it. I have no more name to make for myself. Past that, I mean, that's what we've seen it all throughout history. That's what drives a lot of people. And when you don't need to do that anymore, you have more than enough money. The dude's got plenty of money, so it's like, why go through the risk? Again, same with Jason. It's like now he's got 2 kids.
Jason Anderson has 2 kids?
Well, Eli has 2 kids.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have kids of my own yet, but I imagine it just changes so much where you're like, I'm good. I took all the risk. I've got the millions.
Yep.
Now we can just do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, to risk your mind and body in those high-level sports with family is definitely a bit of a game changer. I always would give Christopher a hard time. I'm like, you're getting married, dude. Come on, man. What champion do you know has got married and have kids? You're going to settle down. You're not going to get a championship, dude. You got to get your championship before you get married.
Sports changing a lot, hasn't it? Now, I mean, how old was Chris at the time that you were telling him that? And now you have Eli winning championships at 30, 31. You're considered an old-ass man at 31 in the sport. Now they're the premium. That's mind-blowing.
That's true. That's true. It's a weird, the sport has been really interesting to watch, and it's hard to believe the Villapoto Dungy era and Ricky's kind of fading out, Stewie faded out, Chad faded out. But that happened, and in that time, so much talent came into the class, and all of a sudden it was like, because Ricky and Stewie and all that stuff was happening, I lost track of how intense that gate of 20 riders was at one time, dude.
That's true. I had quit watching during Villapoto's era just because I was like, it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, it's who's going to get second and who's going to get third. And I got real bored with the sport, but it is amazing that those dudes were able to do that with the competition they were facing. Josh Grant. What happened to Josh Grant? It was so fast.
Dude.
And it's just sometimes slip through the cracks, whatever, just because you have a Villo and you have a Dunge.
Yeah.
And, it would be interesting for another combo to talk about favorite villains. Your Jay Lawrence,
man. What happened to
Mike Evans or somebody like that. There was always some interesting guys mixing it up. I don't know. J-Law. Tyler Evans.
J-Law, man. What happened to him?
Getting in run-ins with the law and teams not putting up with your BS. And, the teams, I guess, can be, boring or whatever at times. But for your J-Laws, for your Hannies, you probably need a little law and order from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah, Hanson was cool.
Another Cali legend for sure. I'm sure you were around.
I was there when he won the X Games gold. I was on that
for the
team.
whip.
Yeah,
for
the Supercross.
Oh, that's right. That was one of the first years they did Supercross at the X Games.
Yeah, and bang, he took it down. So that was cool. That was a big night for the team, and he was just cool.
Was this Hart and Huntington?
No, Troy Lee.
Oh wow.
Troy Lee
okay.
Honda. Yeah.
I didn't realize he had ridden for Troy Lee.
Yeah, that was badass. He and then he brings the fiberglass rims up to Mammoth. Yeah, they.
I'm not aware.
No, I don't think.
Because I never think of him as too much of an outdoor rider. I always think of Hanny as Supercross for some reason.
The dude is on the level of like the Villapotos of the world.
Wicked talented. I mean, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah. Not so much outdoors. I thought the same, but he can move, dude. He can move in the outdoors. And he went up to Mammoth and shredded Mammoth. And I was
carbon fiber wheels.
They put carbon fiber wheels on his fucking bike. I'm like, what are these things? You know, I didn't even see that. I don't remember who made them. And he snapped them, you know.
Well, I was about to say, I've never heard of anybody, so clearly it didn't catch on.
Yeah. Didn't go.
Shit, what is the liability on, hey, Troy, we're going to throw the carbon fibers on your bike this moto.
Yeah.
Best of luck, and let us know if there's any problems.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in practice, he's snapping those things, and I'm sure he was probably kind of pissed off about it.
Qualifying practice, so you're pushing it, I imagine. Yeah. You're not lollygagging out there. Gee whiz, that's ridiculous.
That guy was cool, man. His personality was definitely over the top, you know, like very, very high level personality, and his ability on a dirt bike was lights out. And he was really smart. Or I'm sure he still is, right? But really smart about the bike.
Came in his genes, right?
Yeah, he just knew like the feel, and he had really good feedback.
Dude, style is, I mean, up there, you know, Christian Craig and guys like that.
Gosh,
wicked
I remember him.
style.
Yeah.
Ridiculously smooth. So envious to watch those guys. Yeah. Before we switch over, you know, one more topic on the subject. What do you think of the new OEMs moving into the sport? We've got Triumph coming on board, and the Italian brand Betta's coming on. Beta. And there's another a street bike, or who we think of traditionally as a street bike manufacturer. Ducati's coming on board.
Love it.
And Benny Bloss signing with them.
Benny Bloss signed with Ducati or Betta?
No, Betta. I apologize. He or Beta, however they.
How do you say that? Fucking, it's Betta.
I think it's Beta. No, one T.
It's one T.
I think it's Beta. That's what I've always heard it from, you know, enduro and stuff like that. Where, I mean, that's the only time I'd heard of those bikes. Period. Them and Gas really was just enduro like
stuff.
Hard enduro. Australia, Europe, enduro is where the only place I'd heard of them.
Well, I'll say this: if it's anything like we've seen in the past, it's going to be a bunch of flash in the pans, and there's not going to be much longevity in any of it.
You got Ricky with Triumph. Tedesco's testing their bikes
with Triumph.
That's what I've heard down in Houston.
To me, that's telling me they got money, right? And that's what you're going to need. My uncle told us back in the day, like Moto Triple X days, he was friends with Kyle Lewis. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. And he goes,
number 23, I think.
Yes, right? Sir. Yeah. Lucky Lewis. He goes, the motocross industry, for like investment reasons, investor opportunities, is the biggest sinkhole. It's like the biggest money pit.
Did you hear the $5 million saying?
No.
If you want to start a team and leave with $1 million, start with 5. That's it. You know, from everybody I've heard, it's really that way. Right. I knew a gentleman that was partially funding a team, and I don't think they made too much from it. So
make zero.
Yeah, if you want to leave with $1 million, start with 5. Is what they say.
I believe it, dude. I totally believe that. So if they're truly committed to that and shaking up the industry in that sense, what's cool to hear, and maybe why it makes a little more sense to me, was your take on after COVID, that the manufacturers actually picked up in sales.
Tremendous. And secondary, pro circuit, for instance, people were buying so many 110s during COVID, and their supply and their production of 110 exhausts just went through the roof.
Really?
Like, everybody's riding 110s nowadays. And notice, it used to just be Cowie that had a 110. Yamaha has a 110. Honda has a 110. Kawasaki has a 110.
What?
Everybody's making a 110 now.
110 Supercrosses. How do we not have 110 Supercross series?
I'm on board.
Dude, can you imagine?
Chris rode for BBR for a little while.
Dude,
he'd be the guy.
I was there.
Blake Wharton still races for BBR, rides spit bikes. Yeah.
Really?
He does vintage bikes.
Yeah, I've seen the
pit
vintage
bikes.
stuff. Yeah.
And
I haven't seen much.
he
pit
was
bike
doing
stuff
some
out here.
international stuff too. I went to Uganda at one point and I saw some race bikes, some Kawasaki's, and I came back and then I saw an article in Racer X or something where Blake Wharton was going around the world doing some press stuff and was talking about motocross in Africa, motocross in Latin America.
Here's the problem with the pit bike thing, the pit bike thing. Have you ever been to the pit bike Supercross before the Vegas?
Never been.
So they always I don't know how much history of it, but I got an experience of it. It's the New Orleans in Vegas. It's got a badass little Coliseum in there.
Interesting.
And they put on the mini bike Supercross final, right? And so the best of the best. That was like I don't think it's William Browning, but what's that guy's name? He's from fucking
I'm not familiar with any of those.
Browning. You don't recognize the name Browning?
I do.
All right, the guy was amazing.
Brown
on a
Brothers
110.
race, and they made some pit bike exhaust and stuff.
Okay, no, I don't know if it's them, but Browning, this guy can get down on a 110.
Wicked.
And the Gosslers, they're
Total blast, by the way. 110s are like the funnest to ride.
I know they are. Well, I mean, all right, so
okay, yeah, they are a tremendous fun to ride.
Yeah, I agree.
That's an easy statement.
But it's you're in town for the big bikes, right? You're in town for Supercross, and the New Orleans would put on the mini Supercross race.
That'd be a blast.
Oh, dude, it was super fun. It was sold out. Like it was a lot of people there because we were all there for the weekend anyway,
right,
from the main guys. But this was like Friday night.
Yeah, a little appetizer.
And a little appetizer. And the problem with it is it because it's bigger people on a small bike, it's kind of gimmicky, and it feels a little carnival-y.
You build a miniature, you can get to the point of traditional swing arm, Magura clutch, Marzocchi forks, BBR frame, and it's like you're just riding a true sized down factory bike, you know.
But when they race each other, they're banging. It's just like it's kind of goofy. So I feel like if we were able to build a series of pit bike Supercross championships, there would have to be a level of like etiquette in the racers.
Interesting.
Without it making it kind of not be taken seriously.
Then you turn into the villain. Everybody already hates the AMA and stuff on their rulings.
That's
Who's
true.
the guy making rulings at the pit bike races?
I mean, you might as well have bonfires and fucking let people swing chains and shit.
Was that the peak of motocross? Oh, you mean, racers wise. I was going to say, fans wise, it seems like that was the peak of motocross, man. Speaking of Redbud on 4th of July, you got the chainsaws, you got the dude that wears the ghillie suit
the whoop monster
the whole time, and you get the wild fan. They had I guess it wasn't last weekend, it was an off week, but they had a massive fire. I don't know if you saw that on the broadcast. A bunch of smoke. Somebody had lit a golf cart on fire
at the motocross.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. How about that? I mean, that's some OG motocross stuff right there.
It's coming back, dude.
Gee whiz.
It's coming
what
back.
A dream. Fluorescent colors.
Let's bring it back.
Wild
man.
fonts on the shirts.
Yep.
AP rocking the mullet.
That's it.
We're drinking beers.
Let these racers fight again.
Let the boys play.
Let them play.
Let the boys play.
I like it, man.
Seriously. Let them race again for sure.
Yeah.
We're getting a little too hasty on the rules, in my opinion, but...
Yeah, motocross is definitely not a civilized organization or sport. It shouldn't be.
No.
It's not. It's very, very, very competitive, and that's why we race. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a first, second, or third. So you really want to win. And I totally believe this. The industry is trying to make it where it's like, hey, it's good racing. And Ricky's kind of an advocate for this on this side of it. He's like, it needs to be clean. It's just good racing. That was a racing incident. But, dude, at the end of the day, I'm fucking trying to win.
Of course.
And I'm here to win.
You see the win bonuses and the podium bonuses and the top 5 bonuses and the top 10 bonuses.
So
it's worth every position.
And don't make the riders, the sponsors and everybody else should not make the riders feel like they can't say what they want to say after the race.
And it's just like that.
Let
it really
him be.
is. That's why Anderson's such a
Stirs it up.
recluse. Well, he doesn't do much media because
That's right.
He does his media. They do Team Fried, and then
Right.
because it's got to be his way or no way. Don't want to be told what to say. And that's why I don't know how well things go at Cowie. If you remember during the Supercross season when Anderson got put under probation, and then Cowie came out on their own behest saying, this isn't the way we support riding, and we've never been about this. And it's like, you weren't even asked to say that. Why you got to come out and
Garbage.
Yeah.
That's
why you hired Anderson. He's not J-Law or Tyler Evans taking people out for the hell of it.
Yeah.
The dude wants to win arguably worse than anybody else.
That's right. That's right.
So I wouldn't boo-boo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't boo-boo the guy for that personally.
Yeah. And it's not they're not there to like be friends with each other and be all cool with each other. There is a lot of tension.
Well, and that's such the weird thing about the sport, right? Is you start racing each other at 8.
Yeah.
And you've raced Eli Tomac your whole life. He has been your nemesis. You're the same age, same class. How weird. I mean, it's not even like that. Basketball, football, baseball, track, you name it. It's not like that. So interesting. Because you're 20 guys.
Yeah.
You have more than 20 guys on a football team. There's 20 guys, period. Riding in the main, 22 guys.
22.
Very
worldwide.
interesting. But we could go on and on about motorcycles all day.
Love it, man. Yeah. No, it's a cool sport. I love it.
Love to get to rant about it, though.
Yes. Let's switch it back to family a little bit.
Absolutely.
So your dad, you watched him run and continue a successful family operation.
Absolutely.
Right? All kinds of learnings in that. What do you think your dad has done for you in the way that you visualize your own business now? Like, what did you learn from him? What did you learn watching from him? What kind of big takeaways do you have, like, from him? Like, talk to me about that. Your learnings as running a business now, and how your dad was doing that for so long.
I think the first thing that comes to mind would be lack of limits and lack of roles. Always willing to do what it took. Being in management doesn't change anything. Being owner doesn't change anything. So Kerry works in the shop at Stout Manufacturing now.
Is that right?
Puts over $1 million into the thing, and he works in the shop. And there is not anybody that's more liked at Stout Manufacturing than Kerry Fender. The guys know that he not only started it and funded it. We started it together, but he absolutely funded it. And he's out there sweating his ass off every freaking day. So there's no limits to, yes, you can get lost in the idea of, I just got to do what's necessary. Like, yeah, we all need to have roles within an organization. Sure. And that's a bit of a startup mindset of, we all just do what it takes. But somebody having the mindset of, I do what it takes is... it's hard to put a dollar figure on how valuable that mindset is, because that individual sees themselves without limits. They just see themselves as responsible. And first of all, people seeing themselves as responsible puts out the greatest outcome, I think. If we all were more cognizant of our responsibility to those around us, maybe we'd be better individuals, perhaps. I don't know. But... first thing that came to mind would definitely be lack of limits. I need to do what it takes. If I don't do what it takes, somebody else is going to. And he's like that in every facet of his life. Heavily involved in New Mexico Children's Home, does providing all of the kids that are coming through high school at the Children's Home with vehicles, organizes all of that. Wow. He's on the board there, and you think of boards traditionally as, very prim and proper individuals. Kerry is not, like that in all facets, and came in on this board at the Children's Home and asked a lot of those, what you would think is silly questions of, why are we sitting around discussing this much? what can we do? Like, this is ridiculous. This isn't who I'm, he's not used to being that guy. And so a lot of guys afterwards came up and told him, like, man, I'm glad finally somebody said
I
it.
bet.
We go around the table. We try to be proper. We try to, okay, now I'll move to you. And now, and he was like, this is ridiculous. Can I put the money forward and we do a vote and move on type, situation. And those sorts of individuals that's heart is in the right place just really possess raw power, I think, and make things happen.
Yeah, dude.
You've been around him. He's influenced you, I would imagine. I'm like blessed beyond belief,
Have a dad like that.
So, yeah, have a dad like that. Have a granddad like that. My granddad was the same way. So
he resembles your granddad a lot?
I think so.
Really?
I say that I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and that's why I felt, not a negative pressure, but a pressure to do something on my own because my dad and granddad had done the same thing. But it started with my granddad, and I imagine him. I admire him a lot, rather, just from sheer drive, painting houses while he was in the military, buying and selling trees. Who sells trees and goes and plants trees while they build metal buildings while they're also managing a gas station? Like, the dude that wants it.
Yeah.
And for that to be the only answer, the guy that wants it, and to be within, a family that's like that, where it's like, there's not an excuse. You want it or you don't, and it's not going to happen for you. And those sorts of things of like biting the bullet, facing the music, regardless of if you start your own company or not, it's just so powerful to be around those sorts of figures. And it helped me when I was not out on my own, running my own company. It helped when I was at Walker Engineering and getting interested in things, finding a little niche, hammering the hell out of it.
What'd you actually get a degree in?
So I studied international studies focused in business. I wanted to study international business. I'd traveled a fair amount as a kid, did some mission work and stuff that I really enjoyed, did some internship abroad, which was great, and was just really able to, so blessed being able to travel the world as a kid and get out of West Texas, which I've already mentioned. It really is a bubble. You can get stuck in Midland and live there forever, and there's nothing wrong with it. I know a lot of people that still live there, but those guys also are hungry and push it, and there's a lot to gain in Midland. But you can settle in West Texas and really not make waves and just do your deal, and seeing how the rest of the world operates, such a blessing. So thought I wanted to work for the government, working international. Realized that working for the government probably sucks and that they're not efficient at what they do and things of that nature. Realized I didn't want to be involved. I liked moving a lot faster. So came out of, went to Texas State, studied international business there, came out, worked for Walker Engineering. They're a very large electrical contractor. The setting's called missions critical setting. It's like data centers and things of that nature we were building, which was, we had all been on such a bull market for 10 plus years in 2019. Starting whenever it started. I came out of college in 16, started working there and experienced the bull market, DFW, hundreds of cranes erected at one time in DFW working in construction. So it was booming. Building data centers was tremendous experience in how serious it was, what they were doing, the quality of customer we were building for, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, you name it. We had done a lot of work building data centers for those guys. Getting that experience in a large company, how do systems operate? How do things flow from one area of the company to another? How do you stay well organized? You know, you can do your quote unquote grimy startup and everybody's doing everything and you're hustling. And those things are like good and really tremendous things to be a part of. But at some point you have to understand how the big boys operate, how things stay in order, how the different, you know, areas of a company are separated, but how they communicate. And that was tremendous experience to be around working for a Google.
Wow.
Working on, so I did some project management, and then I got into project controls, monitoring, you know, the schedule and man-loaded and value-loaded schedules of, you know, how well are we keeping up, counting units. You know, you typically think that in manufacturing, counting widgets, how many are we doing per hour, this, that, and the other. You know, at Google, and I was really working closely with them, and Whiting Turner, who was the general contractor, who I still have close relationships to this day, and I still meet for lunch all the time with those guys that I met. They were trying to involve more of that measured production in construction. You know, it's really hard to measure. You're not measuring, oh, I installed 2,000 feet of conduit today. You're just measuring rooms done or something like that.
Wow.
And it really gets gray, and you can really twist it in those meetings of how far along you are. You know? It can
that makes
really,
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've got all the conduit run, and I know we still need to do X, Y, Z, but, you know, the hard work's all done and this, that. And you can really, you know, like we've talked about off mic, you can really twist things into sounding well, and you're not getting dick done, or you're behind, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And Google and Whiting and Turner were the first project I'd been on where they were really trying to count as many widgets as possible, not to get in the way, but if you have individuals that will jump on board and really get involved, you can closely track the stages of a project, which, you know, it's just really hard to do in construction. And there's a lot of complaints about construction. You know, you can look at Bureau of Labor statistics, and where oil and gas and a lot of other things, I think their starting point was in the 60s or 70s, and they measure percentage of innovation since that point. And other industries were, you know, 60, 70, 80, 100%. And from that time period that they started measuring, construction was at a -3 at the time that I was heavily involved. So you've got your guys, Roger O'Brien, Whiting Turner, different guys that are realizing this stuff. And how can we how can we track everything and implement a lot more technology in construction, which has just been the same for so long. So I gained a lot of passion for project controls, counting widgets, the in and outs of, you know, I liked the puzzle of, you know, we need to get here and we start with this. There's a few ways you can get there, but we can track it every bit of the way. And you save 5 minutes, but you multiply that over every job you do, and how big your company is, and you multiply that by 5 years. Y'all are saving millions of dollars by finding better ways of tracking, better ways of doing in the field markups on drawings, you know, versus pen and paper and somebody putting them in on CAD later on. How can we give the guys iPads? They do all of their markups on the iPads. It comes back in instantly. Not as much tracking down of tattered, torn drawings at the end of a project, you know, that you're trying to read stuff off of. And the customers like that stuff better. So that's where I gained a lot of passion for, you know, finding a niche, hammering it, which at Walker, it was some of the software. I became one of the go-to guys for a piece of software that helped us with a lot of that stuff. And I liked the puzzle of finding the better ways to track and do things better.
Right on.
And if you can make little habit changes, you know, how can it affect your $400 million company over 10 years? Jeez. You know, today it may save us 5 minutes, but if the whole company does something a tiny bit better in the next 10 years. And it's something you have your name on, which is really cool to be able to go out and teach and do that sort of thing. So it really set me up well for manufacturing. I gained a big passion for segments of monitoring, segmented work. Manufacturing is just a dream, little bits of work, and you put it all together, and can we shave 30 seconds here and there, and all those line up, and then if we shave 30 seconds on every one of those products that we make, it's really fun sitting there doing that math of the potential money that you saved over 10 years if you change your ways. You find some better way of doing it. So there's always a puzzle to be rejiggered somehow in manufacturing, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool, man. And so from Walker to what was the next deal?
I came out of Walker. My father-in-law was working there and was a tremendous help to me. And I came to him and said, look, Carrie and I, my dad, we think we found a hole in the truck accessory market that's not being done well enough. And even if we just served the oil fields of West Texas, I think we could make a living at making, truck accessories ourselves. Yeah. And luckily with his experience in the industry for so long, we had all the connections, all the, know about different accessories, how well this is working versus that. No, this mounting mechanism, is total bullshit. These people are, came up with this works, that doesn't. Yeah. And having somebody that's outfit all of that stuff for 30 years being like, nope, we can't do it that way. We got to do it this way. Yeah. And that's mistakes I would have made. And, just ridiculous asset to have somebody that's been there for so long that can just off the top of their head can save you so much time. Yeah. With no, I already know that doesn't work because we had these come back to us all the time breaking, and it's like boom, save time right there. What a dream that is.
That's right.
So out of Walker, started Stout Manufacturing. We began making headache racks. If anybody is up in the know on their truck accessories, a lot of fleet vehicles have headache racks. It protects your rear glass, and oftentimes they'll have lights and stuff for blinkers. So it protects your rear glass on your vehicle and protects, the top, bed cap, as it's called, on your truck. So you get angle iron that goes all the way down your bed, and you've got a headache rack that protects rather your rear window. And so we saw a hole in that market, started private label manufacturing those products, building into starting our own brand, and now we're getting into a lot of other products, a lot of other bigger industries outside of oil and gas, which just serving them alone, it's ridiculous. I mean, what a dream it is to just serve the oil and gas industry out there. They use a lot of fleet vehicles, truck accessories, and growing into the 4-state, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, just expanding a little bit through customers of ours that have multiple stores. It's a dream. I love it.
Right on. And then the robot thing, I was telling my daughter, I'm like, he's got robots.
Right.
And she's like, what? She was just fascinated with, what do these robots do? Like, what do you mean robots? And
man,
I remember you sending me videos. I mean, this was years ago. And you were sending me these videos, and these freaking things were, it's got a headache rack in its hands, and it's just twirling them and welding,
spinning. Yeah. Technology is amazing, and the ability, and it doesn't take a genius to program a robot to make a $2-3 million a year product. I mean, yeah, you may need the startup funds, but you'd be astounded at how easy. Not that it's all easy, but you'd be astounded how easy it is to buy a robot, get it to do what you would like, do all of the programming and stuff, and just to be able to print these certain stuff out. So for instance, the product that we make take anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour for a guy to weld by hand, and we weld them in 11 minutes. And the robots, as long as you do the upkeep, they don't get sick, they don't get divorced, they don't have jury duty, don't get hungover. You feed these things, and it's great being in an industry where you get to use stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then being in DFW where there's just so much industry, and you can find, a manufacturer's rep, and they have a 100,000 square foot place. And so you buy a robot and it's out of DFW while you're there, and everything's so close.
Wow.
It's just a dream living in DFW.
What was it like? I mean, this is new for Care Dog. This is new for you.
It's new for all of
This
us.
is new for everybody, right? You're going to pick a robot. You're going to program this thing. Like, what was it like finding a robot? And then, like, what did you learn from it, now years down the line? Like,
Well, I learned how lucky I was. I was really fortunate to find the right people. I guess I would start with the same way you kind of weigh out if people are BS or not.
Yeah.
The sales folks and stuff like that. That's one big thing that I don't think I am gracious to myself enough about, and that Carrie really hammers down a lot, is that we knew nothing about manufacturing before we got into it. And I had a guy say you should look at doing it robots versus by man. And I mean, and I heard this through the grapevine from another guy.
Wow.
He didn't even tell me direct.
Wow.
And it's responsible for so much of our success that we have now.
Isn't that amazing?
Just by somebody offhand mentioning, you should maybe look at it this way versus that. And I would say the biggest, deal is just networking and being around the right people.
Yeah.
You meet somebody that has a phone number that you need. They're customers of yours already, and this is what I'm trying to do next, blah 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 blah. Oh, well, I know the president of that company. Here's the cell phone number. Oh, you should really look at doing things this way. So the manufacturer that we got the robot from, they are a manufacturing facility of themselves, and along with buying the robot, I get to call them up and, hey, what do you think about this method of welding? What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
This sort of, there's all sorts of types of welding, and what do we do on these corners? And do you have any input on building this type of structure? And a lot of it has come from relationships, I think.
Yeah.
Getting the right people in that understand the operations, especially if you're doing the startup, you can't do it all. You're going to need somebody probably that does the operations if you're going to be the business guy. So, please. So I never understood the value of networking until I started doing it on my own.
Wow. I like that.
And to give it up to you, I think that's something that you're tremendous on, and people that there's no question whether you know Troy or not. I think kind of like whether you know Carrie Fender or not. You haven't, I think I may have met him. It's like you met the fucking dude or you didn't, because you remembered it. And that's the value in being somebody that people get along with and will deal with. And you deal with it with engineers and geologists, and probably not the best salespeople, probably not the best people, but you get an individual like yourself that can do the science and can carry on a damn conversation and people want to be around again. It's like, what a freaking asset. So,
right on. Damn, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I would say
you.
networking has been my biggest deal.
Wow, that's interesting. That's our big push for this event coming up, man, is networking for sure. That's like the whole idea of getting a community together that is going to be the community that is pushing forward the next 20, 40 years. How are we really going to manage this thing? Who are we voting for? Why are we voting for them? How are we handling the energy demand? All these very real and very kind of high level, but very real problems we're dealing with.
Without a doubt.
I want to know those people. That's what I want.
Who's coming up?
Yeah.
There's got to be, obviously we deal with that in the U.S. Our leadership tends to be so old, but there's got to be people coming up and filling those spots. Who are those decision makers? What are they thinking? It's tremendous.
Network's
and to
a big
create
deal.
events where people can get together and, God, I've been waiting to get this out.
Yeah.
Finally, I can deal with similar-minded individuals on these topics. You saw how we ranted about motocross for so long. Yeah. Imagine one of those meetups. It's like being able to do those things and being a person that puts those together. Like, God, that's tremendous and so much value for the industry.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. And there's people like John Cassiano you met, right?
Absolutely.
And Matt Bear, like these guys are in it, and they also have that passion, and it's like, it's because of those people,
without a doubt,
that we have this event coming up and all that. Without them, I would never have taken it on. But I realized that, dude, there's a real need for the professionals to get together and talk and communicate and challenge each other with new ideas.
Absolutely.
Like, we have to do this. You know what I mean? We need a platform to do this. The societies create a possibility for it.
Without a doubt.
But it's the professionals, man. It's the network that gets together and challenges it and enjoys that.
But nature doesn't just fall into order. It takes somebody putting these things together where now we can come be natural ourselves. But the I guess it used to be blogs, spaces, and all these things. They don't just fall into order from nowhere. Like-minded individuals just happen to show up somewhere. I mean, thank goodness for the individuals like you guys that can put this together and get the people together to start having those fun conversations, the tough conversations, the challenging conversations.
Yeah, because it's
how do you get better?
Right, and it's super easy to realize that there might be a philosophy out there that is kind of leaning more the other way, which is it's all just going to kind of fall together. Like, we're all along the ride, it's all going to fall together, and we're saying, we're like, no, like we have
nature doesn't show that.
We have a sense of urgency here. This isn't all just going to keep rolling along the way that we see it for the next 40, 50 years. Like, there could be some major changes. Absolutely. We need to better understand the fundamentals. We must do a better job. And that's kind of scary.
And that's been, I think, the interesting thing that I've gathered from you is there's a clear difference between, everybody's hungry to make money. That's a given. But it seems that there's individuals in your interested in the industry, interested to make changes and find those questions that we don't know and those things, versus the individuals that are interested in making money. I mean, that's natural, but thank goodness for those guys that will ask the tough questions, not be the most popular, put the tough ones forward, that sort of thing. It's tremendous.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're always pushing forward, man. We're always trying to do that. I just, we got a lot more work to do.
And you're moving in, everybody's moving in the right direction. You, the oil field people who want to view things traditional wise, and the individuals that don't, you're all in oil and gas moving forward. But it's so easy. It's so interesting, the barrier between the two of who wants to hear something new and who doesn't. I mean, that's every industry. Yeah. That's what I hated so much about construction is, it was a classic thing that some of the younger guys always said amongst each other is, we've done this the same way for 40 years.
Yeah.
We built the same damn job for 40 years. And it's like, what does that mean then? Okay. Has other industries not gotten better in 40 years? We're not going to space the same way we were. We're not treating in medicine the same way we are. That can't be our throwaway statement that we hang our hat on. Like, well, I can always say that we've done it the same way for 40 years. There's no rift in that. There's no waves caused. It's like, well, I don't know if that would be my saving grace statement necessarily. Well, he's been doing it the wrong way for 40 years, or you could do it better,
Yeah.
So thank God for the people that will ask, the quote unquote dumb questions of, okay, I know we do it like this.
Yeah.
Why again?
Yeah.
Who made that decision?
Yeah.
And under what, reasons?
And have the ability to but what about this data that says total otherwise? What? And then it's like,
if science is science, then why is one science more popular than the other?
Yeah.
If one's just as valid and it's saying this, and the other doesn't have as much of a say as much of a scientific grounding, it's like, Interesting.
Yep, it is, man. Interesting.
But you're not going to be the most popular saying that. I mean,
no. Big time.
Or recommending, hey, this may be different.
Well, what's funny is, and I think when you say not the most popular, is that by putting out a different way of thinking about something, and I've done this now in person so many times. Like, it was one thing that we did what we did, and we came about and said, there's a whole new way of thinking about this. We should think about this. Now it's not only should we think about this, but I go toe to toe on the data, and I've learned enough, and I've learned that we can actually make sense of this data with a new perspective. And what I noticed on Outcrop was, you might not be the most popular, but you're the most remembered.
Wow. I know you're the most remembered, Troy. Everybody remembers Troy.
I don't know about that, man, but out on Outcrop, when you come at a different perspective and you really challenge it, and you have someone who's really entertaining it, that's the other thing you need. If someone just kind of sits there and nods, there's nothing you can do. But when you get the questions and you get the engagement, it was so much excitement, dude.
Yeah,
it
thank
was
God
so
for those
fun.
people. Yeah,
it was so much fun, and yeah, maybe it's not the most popular, but what is popular? You know what I mean? Like what?
I mean, right when you asked that, I was like, oh, that's a good question, and I would imagine there would be a lot of hurt egos, perhaps, and especially in such a rough and tough industry. You never want to be wrong.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that sort of plays into things, and having so much money behind the way. It's just interesting the way that, but that's a good thing about smaller guys, right? That's where I gain a lot of space in my industry, is smaller guys can ask more questions. They're more nimble. They're more, you're not trying to change the way BP does things.
That's right.
But you have the dexterity here in this office to ask those questions, improve those data points and all those things.
That's
without
right.
Rocking. It's like, what boat am I rocking? It's me.
That's
dog.
right, baby.
Fucking out here.
That's right. So that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And realizing that, and realizing what space you're actually operating in, is a big deal. That's a huge deal for business and just for success in life, is just, what space are you really operating in? And figuring that out is a big deal. And that was a challenge for sure for me. Was like, all right, all I can do is start an operating company and try to go rock my own boat, man.
All you can do is your best, right? What the hell else do you have to give?
Well, I went in thinking, let's change the world, right? I went in going, hey.
Tough.
Why not? Why not? Somebody's got it. Somebody can do it.
It's a tremendous, we've all been there.
It's
a tremendous pursuit.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got slapped by reality just like all of us do, but
that's right.
Shit, were you wrong in thinking that?
No, that's right.
Yeah. All you can offer is your best.
That's right.
And we didn't, going back to the passion versus money thing, I mean, maybe it's a silly example, but we didn't go to the moon, for instance, off of engineers being coaxed with dollars. It was the passion for getting there first and those sorts of things, and just how thankful to be for those individuals that, measure their lives in a different way. It's not about specifically digits that you can measure, but, what effect am I having on those around me and on the industry? What can I accomplish for the sake of, being able to tell my kids or grandkids one day?
Yeah.
And those are the individuals that change stuff. It's not the money seekers. It's guys that'll ask the real questions, man. And what an opportunity we have. I mean, you were speaking about the government and things. So thankful for the opportunity we have in America to be able to pursue those things without as much, corruption or whatever it may be.
Yeah. They even have programs where they help fund the program, right?
Without a doubt.
Can even get financial assistance in some of this stuff. I mean, horizontal fracking, drilling and fracking was really a lot of funding from DOE.
Really?
Yeah. We did a little mini podcast with the ex-director of the DOE for energy, and she was like, we funded a huge amount of money into
goodness gracious,
better understanding how to do this, and we just needed to do it. And you couldn't have just done it off private investors who wanted a big return. it had to have some subsidy. And just like everything, just like wind and solar and fucking lithium, nuclear, like this energy landscape we've built is now becoming very cloudy and kind of misunderstood. And
well, nobody even knows what's right now.
You're right.
You're either a hero or a villain being in oil and gas, depending on who you ask.
Right.
So how do you move forward as a country on one topic? Like space, for instance. We were all behind it, or not we. I wasn't alive at the time, obviously, but that was something that everybody was behind. Versus now, you could, perhaps in Oregon or somewhere, get glass of water thrown on you for being in oil and gas, or for saying yes, I frack. And all of these things. It's it's got to be confusing from federal standpoint, and
it is. It's confusing, and that's the first red flag that should be something that tells us we might need to think about the fundamentals here.
Without a doubt,
there shouldn't be this kind of confusion amongst the people.
It's a hairy situation to be in when people can't agree on fundamentals of anything. I mean, how do you know where you are? I mean, it's not a profound statement by any means, but it's silly that you even have to say it. And that's the situation we kind of find ourselves in on a lot of topics. Yeah. It's like we really don't even know what's what. I don't know. How do we get to that point where we don't live in reality? But
isn't that interesting? What is reality?
So.
Yeah. What is real?
Well, interesting question, but seems like there used to be things that we could agree on, and now you can't. And it's like, it's just not good. I guess if you compare nation versus nation, there's nations that are all on board with themselves. There's nations that seem to have a rift as we do at the moment. So I hope the best for us, man. I really hope we can get all on the same page and move forward.
Yeah.
Not on some Make America Great Again thing, but you seemed to enjoy when we were all on the same page, moving in one direction versus, the alternative, which I think is right now. So hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a slippery slope.
That is the truth. You've seen the slippery slope come out in recent history, I think. So it truly is.
But back to the networking, right?
Absolutely.
Back to the communication and
Power.
opportunity to talk to each other, opportunities to meet each other, and talk through different things like this. I mean, you get to the point where you get to that level of nationwide or worldwide concepts and challenging those, and revolutions that are happening, or evolution in theories that are happening. Communicating that effectively and keeping it on the forefronts of the societies is
absolutely
really, really hard to do.
Really hard, very important.
Right.
It seems like those are the most difficult things, are often the most important. So
you got to use technology, right? That's the podcast for sure does a good
absolutely.
job at connecting corners of the world and having really interesting conversations from people that would never be able to read or listen to those ideas.
And you don't have to do it in front of somebody. You can be on the elliptical listening to, as the president of, BP or whatever it may be, hearing an idea to where you don't have to deal with the, shame or whatever you want to call it of being like, wow, that's a really good point. And I don't have to defend it in front of 100 people right now.
Yeah.
I can really let it soak in, and all these avenues, all these little ways where people can be exposed to different things. I mean, it's just tremendous. And we didn't have podcasts growing up and stuff. It's crazy thinking back. Would you have even listened to a podcast growing up when you were so just enthused with, the music or whatever it was?
I don't know.
But so much to gain. I mean, I have so much to give credit from like podcast stuff like this for stuff I've learned.
Isn't that cool?
Very thankful for you guys that do this stuff.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, networking, man. It's everything. And getting it out there and getting it back. That's obviously the next big deal, not only being able to put it out there, but how is it being received? What am I getting back?
Yeah.
Because that's obviously how you sharpen yourself and get to what people want.
Yeah.
So the feedback's just as important, right?
That's right. That's right. Get your reviews.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And give reviews, peeps. You know, give reviews.
Yeah.
The people need to know what they need to improve. It's always, I'm always thankful for a gracious review, you know, even if it's poor or whatever it may be. It's like better than me going on thinking I was doing it right, you know?
Yep. That's right. That's right. That's having that, like, an example of the close circle and the people that we have in our lives that we grow into really trusting, and really the people that are in our corners, they love you enough to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And that's the good thing about reviews and social media and stuff like that. You can put something out there and get some reviews back. And that is super helpful. In personal life, it's a lot more challenging, and it's a lot harder to do because you're in person, and
without a doubt.
But no question about it, the idea that, you know, I love you enough, I'm going to be honest with you, and you need to hear this
because I want to see you get better.
Yes. Yeah.
On that subject, you know, I was kind of brainstorming things I may want to bring up on the pod. What's something that you've failed at recently? You know, I think a lot of the successes get highlighted oftentimes. And anytime I, you know, meet somebody that I sit down and talk to like this, I like to find out, you know, what's maybe not your biggest failure, but what'd you fail at recently? And what's a failure that sticks out in your head?
It's hard to say a failure for me because we're still going. You know what I mean? There's always solutions. There's always a fix.
Thank goodness.
And so you focus on that. And so failure is a hard one to pinpoint. But I started thinking about the amount of irons I have in the fire, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this idea that, you know, these serial entrepreneurs, you got to do that because it's just a matter of time when one goes cold and the other one's going to get hot, and you don't want to miss out on any of that stuff. But at the same time, how many hours of the day or the week that you're putting in to trying to keep something hot or cold, or manage the hot and cold,
right?
And you're mismanaging some of your own happiness, some of those moments that you could have with your kids or have
stories all this time, right?
Have with your wife. So I would say recently it's been really exciting. It's been so many things moving, but mismanaging almost the amount of fire, heat, and all that stuff that's happening.
Yeah,
and
every bit of it.
Right? Thinking you really have control of more than you think you might.
Control.
Yeah, dude. So the reality is, you know, you get to let go. You have these irons. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to be micromanaged.
Right.
So being an entrepreneur, don't micromanage the irons in the fire, and certainly don't the 60, 70 hours and all that stuff, you know, sacrificing some of this time.
It's cool in the movies. It's cool in a book and all that stuff. But, yeah, especially when you have a family.
Yeah.
Who am I working for at the end of the day?
Right.
Working for me, or am I working for us? And those are kind of two different outcomes, right?
That's right, man. And we do a good job with it. My wife's amazing at it. My kids are always fun. They all, like, every time.
Kids are great, man. I just met Troy's kids, and dude, it was such a blast just getting to meet them. Conversations we were having and stuff. Freaking great family, man.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. No, you got a great mom. You
do. Yeah, y'all. Yeah, I mean,
and the kids are like, "How was the meeting, Dad?" Like, when I come out of the room, they're all pumped.
The daughter right from the get-go telling me, oh, I'm a geologist just like my mom and dad, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I know I didn't do that as a kid and wasn't thinking about those things. I mean, the amount of, like, passion that y'all have harbored is tremendous. No, freaking makes me pumped to have kids, and, you know, I'm married, but start the family, you know, true, real, you know, big full family. Like,
what are you looking forward to the most, man? You're a young lion, right?
Dude, I don't know. I feel like sometimes an outlier in some of my perspectives, and people asking, you know, you want boys, you want girls, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to do this wisdom deal of just like, I really just want kids, and I'm not going to be more happy or less happy regardless of, you know, boy, girl, whatever.
Yeah.
And just realizing, like, the tremendous value of being a good parent. Like, if I can keep things going how they're going at Stout and keep business going, like, really, I just want to try and be a good dad, I think.
Right.
And it sounds simple and sounds cheesy, but like, no matter how you want to measure it, you know, financial or from a societal standpoint, like, good dads are fantastic people.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against single parent households or anything, but like having a good male figure in the house and having, you know, all of these things, like, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Trying to make the best humans I can.
Yes.
And trying not to expect too much. And I feel like that's going to be the key to success somehow. Not expecting too much, but trying to be as raw as best I can. I just want to be a good dad.
Yeah.
Really.
So in your opinion, let's do a hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about some fundamentals, right? Fundamentals of what you think sustaining your goal as being a good dad. Let's assume you get home from this weekend, your wife's like, I'm pregnant. So the baby's coming. No question about that. Nothing you can do about that. It's coming. And you know you're going to be a good dad. Nothing about that. You just have it.
Try my best.
But let's assume business fails, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you have the assumption going into this hypothetical situation that you're going to still be a great dad.
Absolutely.
What are some of the fundamentals that you can still have without having the security of your business and the success of your business as you see it right now?
Man, I'm a huge victim of that, like, fear mindset. And, you know, I have to be successful and you have to make whatever the dollar value is to be a good parent. You know, I was raised a certain way. We already lamented about how expensive motocross was, you know, and I was just, you know, gushing to my dad the other day about how I was concerned that my kids won't have the lifestyle that I was raised in, for instance. And you're around these wise characters, Carrie Fender, Russell Potter, all these guys that'll tell you, like, yeah, it was all fine and good, but the time spent and the support, you know, were the first two things that came to my mind. You can really turn a kid off by, you know, saying maybe you aren't as hungry as I was growing up, or you aren't performing like I was growing up, or these sorts of things. Like, yeah, obviously we all need a hard kick in the ass a lot of times, especially guys. And even motivational wise, we all need that motivation. But I think time and support,
right on.
Huge deals. It can be building Legos. It can be, if you can't afford Legos, it can be building stuff out of tree branches you ripped down. Kids are so imaginative.
Oh yeah.
That it's a rocket ship. Those tree branches are a freaking rocket ship. But
literally don't
I spent the time with you. I went along with the rocket ship.
Yeah.
We built it. We went to Mars. You supported me. You gave me that feeling that I can succeed. You know, it seems like all the wealthy guys we talked to that did it wrong, I cared more about one thing than the other. You know, I didn't spend the time, I spent the money. And, you know, how do you balance those? It's always a razor's edge, right?
Yeah.
You can always be 50-50 perfect. It's hard. It's hard to balance on the razor's edge. And that's what I'm like figuring out. You know, I idolized entrepreneurship so much because I saw the life that it afforded me as a kid. And, you know, it's cool and sexy and all of those things. Oh, business owner, oh, this, that, and the other. And yeah, it can afford you a great lifestyle and it can afford you time. You know, working in a large company, maybe you can't get the time to go to motocross races that you can when you can hire somebody to take over half your role. You get to make those decisions as a business owner. So how do I, you know, harness wisdom from generations past, but take these tools of, you know, business ownership and be the best individual I can? And I think it comes down to time and support personally. Spending that time, being around the kids, and then going along with the tree branch rocket ship, going along with gymnastics. You know, soccer's dumb and whatever, but you can also learn, we signed up for this, we're sticking with it.
That's right.
We're trying as hard as we can. You nagged me to sign up, so we're going to be kicking goals, you know, twice a week in the evenings or whatever. And those are, how much value, does that gain?
That's right. That's unmeasurable, dude. That's perfectly said.
But
really
I'm
good.
not a father yet. What do you think?
I would just agree with what you said. I could probably add some things, but dude, time and support and what you just said is insanely valuable to the kid. It's unbelievable.
So you've seen the same. You think you've seen the same thing?
I've seen it in my kids. I know it's true. I know what you're saying is true. So you have the right perspective. You have the right idea of what the fundamentals are needed to be a good dad. You could be having the worst day. They don't understand. They don't care. And all they care about is your time and your support. And when you give it to them, your bad day gets recycled into the best day.
So that's the thing with parenthood, right? And that us pre-parents don't understand is it worth it? I don't know that I want to deal with it on my worst day.
Yeah.
But the wisest people I've ever spoke to and the wealthiest people I've ever spoke to, and hopefully those are mixed usually, but they've said the best thing they've ever done is have kids. Yeah. Do I get it? No, I don't get it because I don't understand it yet.
Right.
But when everybody says it, it's like, okay, there's got to be something there.
That's right.
And I can regurgitate all sorts of bullshit that sounds good. Yeah. I don't get it yet. I'm selfish.
I could imagine it being a parent could certainly be super challenging because it's not all beds of roses. You know what I mean? You could have a spouse that's really bad. And that doesn't go well, and you don't get to see your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you could lose children. I mean, there's definitely stories out there that make parenting maybe a very, very hard thing for someone's life. But what you were getting at and what I was feeling while you were explaining what these people were telling you is the simple fact that when you go to bed at night and you have a child and you're laying with them or you know that they're comfortable,
mm-hmm.
you go to bed so happy, and it's almost like going to sleep that it doesn't even matter if you wake up the next day. You're going to sleep so happy.
Right.
And you just go to sleep, dude. Like, out of all the chaos, out of everything, you go to sleep happy.
Dude, hearing that sort of stuff gets me so pumped to have kids. It's so intimidating.
Oh, it is, man. And it is hard.
And I'm worried. And you can't downplay the difficulty at all. And I really work on not downplaying that difficulty. But if your favorite people are telling you how good it is, it's like, why am I so nervous about it? All of my friends my age are like, what the hell was I scared of? That have had kids. I wish I would have done it sooner. I wouldn't have chased so much stupid bullshit that I was chasing, I
believe that.
I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it makes it more difficult, but the simplifying of life, I think once you get so overwhelmed with so many responsibilities, which you clearly have, it's like, so many other measures don't matter as much.
Yeah.
My kid's going to sleep content and happy.
Yeah.
That's the only bar I have to clear.
Oh,
I don't have to impress you. I don't have to impress this girl. I don't have to impress Insta. I don't have to,
Yeah.
It's like, God, these kids loved playing in this box that turned into,
and they're just
exhausted or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, and I'm so happy. I look forward to that so much.
Dude, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So weird. So interesting, Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, dude, I think we're rolling right into the completion part of this show.
Love it.
Which I want to get your take on kind of where you see industry, and you can just do international, dude. Think world, global perspective. Where do you see us going in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see global recessions? Do you see a depression? Where are you at on your meter of what's going on?
The interesting thing, and obviously not being a professional at all, the interesting thing about a recession, right, is everybody didn't call it, and that's what makes it a recession. And everybody's calling recession right now. So how does a recession happen when everyone's calling recession? in manufacturing, and although I don't manufacture internationally, my customers receive things internationally. So I'm pretty well or somewhat honed in on, what's going on. And it appears to me, at least, that a lot of things are coming back stateside, and countries are turning to doing everything themselves so that they can. And we're pulling some manufacturing out of China and out of Europe and out of other places. Some jobs are growing internationally, call centers and things of that nature. But oil and gas trade seems like it's growing more individualistic. We're doing less, from what I can measure, and people saying they're doing less than us, and petrodollar changing and all of those things. Manufacturing for sure is coming more stateside. So it's interesting thinking about what's going to happen in the future, where everybody's always promoting this, one human race and international business and all of these sorts of things. But a lot of stuff's coming back to its individual countries, it seems like, from what each person can handle. Obviously, if you don't have oil and gas, but there's plenty of catalysts in the market, it seems like. Obviously, we've got this large war, Russia and Ukraine, going on. Where does China sit on that? Where do we sit with China? Where do we sit with Taiwan and China? We have a leader saying that he would defend Taiwan. Obviously, we're tight with Taiwan, and but so much manufacturing coming out of Asia, so much steel and raw products come out of there. And again, just so much manufacturing. It's like, it's hard to put a finger on, like, what is going on? Are we trying to work together or are we not? Because we're acting like we're not, but we're like, clearly so dependent.
Either way, right? Like what you're saying, no matter what the outcome, are we going to work more or less with international allies or whatever? What's certainly not happening is some kind of slowing down of anything.
I haven't seen it.
I mean, so
we're taking off. Oil and gas reserves are at an all-time low, so surely production is going to be increasing if we would like to have those reserves, which only seems wise to my simple mind. But, and with all these discussions on the petrodollar and who's going to be dealing with who, it only makes sense to me that things stateside are going to continue to increase. Now, maybe if you're the owner of a large company that's importing a lot of stuff, maybe you're not going to benefit as much, but a lot of stuff's coming stateside, what seems to benefit us at least.
Wow. I was talking to somebody, and I just recently talked about this too in a podcast, was, are we coming out of the recession already? Like, is it behind us? And it's like, with this conversation, I'm like, I think so. I think I'm getting more confident that most of the stuff is made up, and it's all like off of fear, and all these things are driving the concepts of like, no, it's all coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's all fear driven. The reality is, no, we're actually out of it.
Right.
And we need to just get over the hump on, are we going to get more integrative?
Right.
Or are we going to actually differentiate? You know what I mean? Like, we're just going to go stateside, or maybe what countries we're actually physically connected to.
NAFTA deal, yeah, exactly.
So either way, let's go. Either way, we got plenty to do.
I think so. I mean, if so much stuff is soaking up internationally, or drying up rather, there's people stateside to fill those voids. Yeah. Manufacturers like myself. And although it may not benefit the ultra large company initially, clearly those things have beneficial impacts on our economy.
Right.
And me making more money and putting money back into the economy.
That's right.
Yes, your company that imported things from China, they're having to spend more, but there's something to say about the other parts of the economy that it's stimulating. That's 10 jobs that I create right now that didn't exist before. Is that changing the fabric of the U.S.? No, but 1,000 companies that way that it can hire 10 people
right.
and make these jobs and pay
That's
well,
right.
Pay
That's
your
right.
$22 an hour for welders and all these things. That makes impacts on people's lives.
Dude.
And
so that's it, man.
So sorry, screw me for cheering on us not getting as much from China, but it
doesn't matter.
Helping us.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. If it does, we'll manage it. We'll still get through it. If we don't, great. I'll manage it even better.
We are not to sum up what you're saying, we are not seeing people unwilling to pay these American prices to get things done. And it's benefiting all of us. I'm not seeing the big slowdown.
Great.
Steel went up during COVID 200% at one point, but that was our huge dependence on Asia, not having our mills operate how they ought to stateside.
Wow.
Now we get that under order. Now the U.S. is much more capable of operating on their own without having to rely so heavily on Asia. So
that would be fantastic because the steel cost in my last workover was the largest single bill.
Brutal.
Fucking brutal, dude. Ridiculous. That can't happen. That's just going to destroy the industry. It's stupid.
Without a doubt.
We got to get those mills running. We got to get our own iron.
We got to get more mills.
We got to get those costs under control. That's ridiculous. Get efficient energy out of the ground like we do, and then having to pay out the nose for steel. Come on.
Yeah, and that's, the classic thing of, investing back in ourselves versus clearly there's a much easier dollar to be made getting your steel, from Asia or getting XYZ made from Asia. And I can't blame you for that, and I'm not going to. But once the dollar isn't the only thing that you think about, it becomes a little bit easier to be like, yeah, I'm on board with the U.S. I'm glad that we're all doing well. And if people are still willing to pay these prices, it's like we all only benefit from it. Your property value. I mean, all of these things are linked to how well we are doing, Yeah. And it's hard to care about how well we are doing when say you and I have completely different points of view. And that gets back to like the rift versus joint topic that you were talking about earlier is what are we doing here? Are we together? Are we growing apart? What's the situation? But it only helps us when we become capable of doing those things ourselves versus letting the sleeping tiger take it all over like they are. So all love to China. Love the peeps. Maybe don't love the government, but
takeaway for me is we're going to be all right.
We're going to be great, dude. We are resourceful people, and we are. There is a lot of us that are willing to do what it takes, and you gotta love America for that. That sort of ethos and doing things ourselves, starting it ourselves, having the initiative to do those things. Like, obviously, we're not the only ones that have those things, and we're not, superior to all. But God, we've got a lot of it.
Yeah.
And we've done it through the past. If we can keep those embers going, keep blowing some oxygen on that fire, like God, we're a pretty capable group of stinking people. And they come from all over the world. It's not white folks. It's people from all over the world that chase the dream.
That's right.
It's like, God, we got to keep that dream together.
There's the European machine. There's the Chinese, Asian machine. There's American machine. There's all these machines.
Russo theme. Yeah. Russo machine.
Social media in the last 10, 20 years has been all out, and now it's maybe coming back.
Yes.
We've learned a lot. We've appreciated everyone else's cultures, right? We've learned a lot. Like I certainly have.
Without a doubt.
I've appreciated all that different thing, but now it's like, all right, let's bring it back in and let's just be successful at what we can do. And we have a good economy. We have a strong economy. We have a strong dollar. Let's just focus on that and be okay with that, and let's get after it.
Yeah, maintaining the cards in hand that we have, seeing what other opportunities are, but absolutely maintain the tremendous strengths that we have, oil and gas wise, natural resources.
Natural resources, man.
As a whole.
Real assets.
and large demand. I mean, we don't have the largest population in the world, but God, we've got a good demand, and maintaining that and being able to serve that ourselves.
That's a good point. Real good point, man. I think I mean, that's pretty much as good as we can get, at least in the first episode with Chase Fender.
Without a doubt, dude.
It could be it could be 100 episode series. One of these by the time we're done.
Dude, we're gonna start a motocross supercross podcast. I think. You know, I could go on forever. No.
Dude, the day you move here, we're going to watch live and be the commentators on Supercross or Motocross, whichever
Without
it is.
a doubt.
We're just going to turn it on.
I've got my opinions, Troy.
Dude, I would listen to watching Motocross every day.
Well, again, I mean, so thankful for the individuals that put things like this together. I know I've done my ranting and raving, but like, God, just so thankful for the people that, you know, put this stuff together, get like-minded individuals together, and not like-minded individuals together. You know, if you can put up with it.
Right.
And thank God for the individuals that are willing to be uncomfortable. So this is tremendous, dude. What a fantastic experience. The PBE experience, you know. I freaking love it.